Bienvenidos a todos ustedes. Welcome to my channel, Dolls by Mr. Fabre. And if you haven't guessed, I am Mr. Fabre. I hope everybody is doing well. Hopefully everyone has had a great weekend. My weekend's been pretty uneventful. So this is something that I wanted to do for quite some time when it came to creating my doll channel, and it is this will be a playlist of videos when it comes to doll rerooting, this, that, and the other. So I want to give like tutorials on how to reroot, especially for beginners, just because of course when I first started I had no idea what I was doing, and I felt that there wasn't really many videos out there when it comes to rerooting. So I definitely want to try to be as descriptive as possible, try to be what's the right word, be very meticulous, and show the step-by-step process on how to do a successful reroot. When you're first starting out, one piece of advice I'll say is definitely be patient with yourself, because it is quite time consuming, and if you're an impatient person, this can feel like it's taken forever. I do find it as like a weird pastime for me. I do enjoy rerooting no matter how long it takes. But I want to give a step-by-step tutorial on how to do a reroot from start to finish. So I'm gonna flip the camera over so you can see what I'm doing. So let's get started. All right, so we are on the other side. So the tools that you'll need for the beginning of the reroot are the doll head, obviously. When we continue this process, I'm not going to use the Millie sculpt. I will be using another sculpt. I'll be using the CEO face sculpt. So I'm gonna just show an example on how to remove the hair from the Millie, but I'll be using a different doll head when it comes to the reroot. So the tools you need is, the supplies you need is the doll head. You will also need some tweezers. I really like these. These are, I don't even know what to call them. They're like forceps, if that's the right terminology. This is from the Doll Planet. I think it has it right here. Yep, it has. I don't know if you can see it right there. It doesn't focus, but it says right there that it's from the Doll Planet. These are like locking, like kind of like tweezers in a way, but these are locking. So you're able to grab the hair quicker or more efficiently, because sometimes the hair that you're trying to grab from inside the head can be very stubborn. So it's very beneficial for it to just lock in, and you can just remove it with no issue. You can do it with the tweezers, but it's definitely a lot more work and you use a lot more force. So I typically use the tweezers when it comes to like the more fine detailing, like just maybe plucking like a few hairs from on top versus the inside. If I'm grabbing hair from the inside, it's going to be using like these 4 strips or these makeshift tweezers. And then also I like to use a screwdriver with the flat top, and you'll see why in a minute. I do feel like having a screwdriver for removing the hair is probably the quickest way, just because I remember I used to remove the hair by just the tweezers and it would take me over an hour. It was crazy. And then I learned that you can just use a screwdriver with the flat top, and it makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm not going to make a video on how to remove the doll head from the body, just because I feel like there's a lot of videos out there in the YouTube universe that will show you how to do it. So I just feel like me making my own video is just going to be a little bit kind of like monotonous or repetitive when there's so many videos out there. So what we're going to do is you want to make sure that you cut the hair as short as you possibly can, and of course you're trying to take out these plugs from the head. So what I like to do is I like to grab the screwdriver, and then I just start scraping the top, or I just start scraping the head. And if you look right there, I don't know if this can focus. Let's see. Okay, if you see right there, the hair is starting to come off. from the scalp. You can kind of see it there. Sorry that this is kind of blurry, but that's basically what I like to do. And just making sure that you're not being too aggressive, because you definitely don't want to cause any scalp splits or anything of that sort. Definitely if you're looking to reroot older dolls, be very cautious about using this method, just because you don't want to cause any scalp tears, scalp splits. But usually the hair should come off pretty well. And then again, this is the quickest way that I've learned how to remove the doll hair from inside, just because I have seen some people use the forceps and the tweezers, but I feel like that takes a lot longer. Oops, sorry. And you obviously need the plate to keep the hair from, you know, dirtying up your table and stuff. But yes, I went from, you know, this taking me over an hour to do, and now, you know, now it takes me like 5-10 minutes, you know, so it's definitely a big change. But yes, just basically just keep doing this till the hair is completely gone. And one thing I'll say is be mindful of the parting of the hair, because that typically is the thickest with hair, and also it's the most like intact with glue, I've found. So definitely be cautious about removing that, because you don't want to aggressively take out the glue from the hairline, or the hair from the hairline, and then for it to, of course, cause major scalp splits. So be mindful of that. But usually the hair everywhere else should be really easy to take out. It's just mainly the where the hair parting is. That's where you should be mindful. But yeah, like, see, if you're looking right now, we are 5 minutes in, and we are basically almost halfway done with this. Just going to show how easy it is. Just keep using, you know, just keep using the flat top on the screwdriver, and just remove the hair. And I'll be back once this hair is completely, when it's completely gone. So just give me a few minutes. All right, so that took me, like I said, it's probably took me like maybe 6-7 minutes to complete this. So if you see, she's completely bald. You can see all the plugs in her hair. There's no more hair, there's minimal hair. And then the last part that you want to do, obviously you can do this as you go, or if you wanted to finish if you wanted to do this until you finish taking out all the hair out, you can either use your tweezers or the forceps if you have these, and you just want to remove the hair from inside the head, because you don't want to glue old hair with new hair. Let's see. It's a little difficult to do just because I am looking at the camera now, but you get the idea. Just make sure that there's no more hair inside her head. And then see if you see there's still hair inside here. Anyway, just keep doing this till you don't see any hair, and we'll go ahead and we will move on to getting started with the reroot. So stay tuned. All right, and we are back. First, I just want to apologize for the background sound that you hear. That is my air conditioner running. I'm currently in my room now, and it is kind of hot. It's still hot in September. And I also apologize for the terrible lighting. as well as this table. I know it looks very, very beaten up. This table's actually about 30 years old, and I haven't replaced it yet. This is my computer desk, but this is usually actually where I do all my rerouting. So it's kind of like as if I were to, you know, I just feel at home doing my rerouting here at my desk. So I just wanted to do this continuation process, and I didn't want to wait till the next week to do this. So that's why we are in my room at 1 in the morning. I just got back from work. So this is the doll head I'll be using, and this is the CEO face mold. Now, there are just a few things that I do want to talk about before we start rerouting. So if you are looking, so for me, I painted her scalp white because I will be using some white hair on her. I want to give her kind of give her like a ethereal look, you know, like, or if for any America's Next Top Model watchers, Tyra Banks used to love the platinum blonde hair and the bleach brows. Her brows actually got removed when I was washing her. I used a toothbrush and her face or her eyebrow paint completely came off. So I'm debating whether or not to put some on. We'll see how I feel. But she originally had blonde, a yellowish color on her scalp because she had blonde hair originally. So if you are looking to paint her scalp, it's not a requirement, but it definitely helps with camouflaging the scalp when you are rerouting the hair. Obviously, you're going to have some gaps, so it helps fill in the gaps. So if you're looking to repaint her scalp, you want to use some acetone. I use 100% acetone, and you can either put it on a cotton swab or a cotton round and just remove the paint or the previous paint from her scalp, and just, you know, avoid putting the acetone on her face because you don't want to erase the facial features. So use acetone for that. And then when it comes to repainting, use an acrylic paint. My favorite acrylic paint that I've been using is the Mondo Llama, or that's how you say it. I don't know. So this is acrylic paint. You can get this at Target. You can get them in the individuals or in the packs. I have both, but I really like the finish that this has. It is a satin finish, if you can see that. And I've used other acrylic paints in the past, but I feel that the acrylic paint of other brands, kinds of acrylic paint, that when you're rerouting, the paint starts chipping. I'm not sure why. I've noticed that out of all the acrylic paints that I've used, the Mondo Llama stays the best. So once you paint the scalp of the head, this is optional. I personally, I use this to seal in the paint. I use some Mod Podge clear acrylic sealer. If you are looking to use this outside because it has a very strong smell and you want to make sure you're in a well ventilated area. So what I usually do is I grab a paper towel and I will cover her entire head except the scalp. And usually what I'll do is I will grab a pencil, and then of course I will spray outside her scalp, and then I would wait like maybe 20 minutes to half an hour for her scalp to dry. That's what I do to seal the acrylic. However, one thing I notice is I'm not sure if this is just with all acrylic paint. I feel like every single type of acrylic paint that I've used, when I'm rerouting, if I'm touching the scalp, I notice that the paint starts to wear off. And I believe it's just because the oil's in your fingers. It is rubbing off the acrylic paint. I've used it without the sealant and with the sealant, and I've noticed that that's the same process. So when you're rerouting, I would definitely say to be avoidant of of touching the scalp and rerooting, definitely try your best to just hold on to just her face and just avoid rerooting and holding onto the scalp, because you will feel like a stickiness and you will see that her scalp is rubbing off. So you definitely don't want to, you know, waste all that prep work that you did when it comes to prepping the doll head, and then just rubbing off all of the acrylic paint with the oils in your fingers. So that's a tip that I will give. Now, this isn't like a requirement, but it is, I would highly recommend it, is before you start rerooting, to put some Loctite inside of the head. And basically what this is a flexible adhesive, which is in the name, where basically, since you are rerooting and you are putting holes in the head, this will prevent, it's not 100%, it's not 100%, but it is preventative, where it will prevent any type of scalp splits or anything of that sort. So this would definitely help with that. And how you do it is you just, let me show an example of one that's already used. So it basically looks like this. You put it inside the head. You don't have to put a whole amount, a whole ton, but just like a nice coating. And then you can grab a cotton swab and then just, you know, disperse it evenly in the head, just like this, just like this. And then I typically like to wait at least a day for it to dry. It doesn't have to dry within a day, but just make sure that the head is sitting where the hole is facing to the sky, just so that the adhesive can lock in and it could dry properly. And you'll know if you're looking to get started with rerooting right away. The one way you'll know that this is completely dry is inside the head, when it's still adhesive, when it's still active, when you push it like this, it makes like a sticky sound. Like if I were to do this and if I freshly put it in and if I were to let go, it would still be like this. And then you can also see the residue like come off, if that makes sense. So right now I put the adhesive in yesterday around maybe like 9 p.m. And if you see, if I push it in, it will go back to its original shape. If this was still fresh, then it would probably stay like this if I were to let go. So that's how you know that it's dry. And one benefit that I like to use this for is because let me just say that if you are rerooting a newer doll head, you probably don't need this because it is a newer head. If you are using an older doll head like this, of course, this is probably maybe from 2009, 2008, so this head is over a decade old, I would recommend to use the Loctite to just prevent any type of scalp splits or anything of that sort. One thing I like about this, however, and I don't know the science behind this, but I've noticed that in my experience of using the Loctite on the doll's head, it really helps with softening the doll head, because you're going to get some heads, and I can't speak for every single, doll head. I'm specifically talking about Barbie. So I've noticed that when the heads are slightly more firm or harder, if I use the Loctite, it helps soften them. And that's beneficial because when you are rerooting, you don't want your needle to break, because of course you're not trying to, break 5 or 6 needles with just one head. You want to make sure that you can save your needle. So that is something that I've noticed too. So if you have an older doll head, or if you have a doll head that is slightly more firm, you can use some Loctite to soften the head. One example that I will show is this doll. Her head was super hard and it has gotten really soft. I wish, you can feel what I'm feeling, but definitely it feels a lot more soft than when it did when I first put in the Loctite in her hair, inside her head. So yes, that is just basically the preparation process when it comes to rerooting my doll. So this is just the prep on the head, and then the next video that I will show will be actually rerooting. So stay tuned.